Jen here, and today I'm scrapping along with the Scrappy Sisters, Katie and Jessica, while they scrap September. Yes, I said scrap a lot in that sentence. But Katie and Jessica have a channel called the Scrappy Sisters, and for the month of September, they're scrapping every day, and they've invited a few guests along to play along with their prompts and create some videos for them as well. So every day for the month of September, they have chosen a prompt. It's things like family and shape and multi-photo and single photo and mood board, all kinds of really great prompts that are designed to help kind of get your juices flowing, give you some ideas, and hopefully inspire you. And while you're thinking about that prompt, you can watch their layout and the layout from whoever is their guest for that day, and even some Instagram layouts as well. So there'll be some links for those too. And hopefully it inspires you to get crafty and scrappy this September. So down below in the description box is the link to the playlist, and that will be updating every day with everyone's links as they go live so that you guys can follow along through all 30 days of September. And hopefully, if it inspires you, you guys will pull out your scrapbooking supplies and scrap along too. If you do, I would absolutely love to see and hear about what you guys were inspired by throughout this month. So leave all those comments for me down below. And if you chose the prompt that I've chosen, I'd love to know how your layout came out. So I chose monochrome as my prompt because I have been having so much fun lately just scrapping monochromatic layouts. They're great for using up your scraps, which is what I love about it, because we all have those little bits and pieces left over that don't really go with anything else. Maybe they're just the last few embellishments from an ephemera pack or stickers from a sticker sheet or whatever it might be. And what else are you going to do with them, right? Sometimes you get designers who create collections that have such specific color tones to them that they don't really match with a lot of your other collections. Maybe they're super vintagey, or they're very bright, or they have sort of more of that like childish color tones to them, or whatever it might be. But when you break them down into their individual colors, you find that it becomes a little bit easier to use them. And especially if you're doing something monochromatic, because blue will match with blue no matter what shade or tone it might be. And that's kind of the point of a monochromatic layout, is to really showcase the color that you've chosen. And so you want to have lots of variations of that color all put together, because that's what helps to bring out the details and all those fun little pieces of interest and all of that work that you've put into it by having all the different shades. So if you are someone who stores your scraps by color, then you're even ahead of the game when it comes to doing something monochromatic, because you've already got everything sorted. I don't store my stuff that way, so part of the fun for me that I've found in doing something monochromatic is that I get to go through all of my stuff, my 6x6 paper pads and ephemera packs and my scraps of paper, my little bits and pieces of things. I get to go through it all every time I want to do this and try to find as many pieces of the color I've chosen as possible. So I really like that. And I always find new things that I forgot I had that I kind of pull out and put to the side to remember to use. So for this particular layout, because I've done a few monochromatic ones lately, I've done some blue ones, and I did a purple one and a green one, I thought it would be fun to try something different, and I picked white. I have seen some absolutely amazing white monochromatic layouts, especially on Pinterest, and I think that they always just turn out so gorgeous. So I wanted to give it a try. But I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm actually doing my white layout on a black background, because I felt like the black kind of gives a little bit of help to the white to stand out, and you you kind of get to see all the different layers and bits of detail because they stand off of the white so much. So I started with, let me explain what I'm doing here, and then I'll go back to rambling on. You saw me punch out some little flower shapes. So I punched them from white cardstock, vellum, and tissue paper. And now I'm just sewing them together to create these little kind of flower embellishments. And so just again to kind of differentiate these from any of the other pieces, or I do use some of the vellum and tissue paper on its own, I put a little black sequins in the middle of those. So I zoomed in, and because it was later at night and it was kind of dark out, it actually took away all of the light. That's why that looked so dark. But they were pretty simple. I just wanted to create my own embellishment because I didn't really find a lot of pure white embellishments in my stash. But what I started with was that black background and then some acrylic white paint, and I just used a palette knife and scraped it across the white. I kind of had an idea about where I wanted my photo to go. I don't even think at this point I had chosen a photo, or I think I had just chosen a photo as I was putting on some of the stenciling, but I kind of had an idea of where I wanted it to go. So I smushed that white on, and then I watered a little bit down and splattered it all over. And then while it was drying, I punched out all of my shapes. So I punched out some big flowers, and I punched out some little teeny tiny flowers. I used 3 layers of the tissue paper, and that helped me to punch out the shapes. But you do have to be careful. You kind of have to make sure that the tissue paper is pulled nice and tight, and you have to punch really quickly. So it caught a few times, but for the most part, I got some shapes punched out. And then what I also did, because I couldn't find a ton of white embellishments, is I painted those cork hearts, and I painted some wood veneer hearts. So every time I added a layer of mixed media onto my background, as I put that away to let it dry, I just painted another layer or another coat of white onto the cork and the wood veneer. I think depending on the type of cork you use and the type of wood veneer, if there's any kind of glazing or any kind of like sealant on it, you probably wouldn't have to put as many layers of paint. But my paint I was using was a little bit watered down because it's what I used for my splatters. So you can just keep adding white until it's as white as you want them to be. And then I also added some white texture paste through a Heidi Swapp stencil, and I added some black texture paste through, I can't remember where that stencil came from actually, but it's Heidi Swapp black texture paste. It has a little bit of a shimmer to it, and again, I just thought that would add a little bit of that contrast to the white, and so it kind of draws your attention to those little details. I chose a white doily to put down as my first mat or my first layer behind my photo, and then I have 3 layers of tissue paper. I wanted it to be dense, and I wanted there to be some shadow there, so as I'm kind of playing around and adding my other little embellishments and in the different places where I've put adhesive, it kind of makes the tissue paper move a little bit, so it creates some shadows there too and a little bit of depth. So with my photo down, now I'm going to add some layers of paper. So when I went through my stash, I was looking for things that were mostly white with just a little bit of black, or in this case with this vellum, I found this piece of vellum that has this very faint gray kind of damask print to it. So I'm going to use that as well. And I think that just kind of helps to, I think if I had put plain vellum, you would have seen that it was vellum, but this again just adds that extra little detail because it's white. So you want those little details wherever you can get them. So that's going to be my first layer down on the bottom. Excuse me. So I just cut a little tail in the end of those. And now I have this piece of paper, and I cut the border strip off of this paper, and it's just plain white paper with a very faint gray grid on it. So that again works really well because the grid doesn't stand out too much, but it just gives this paper a different look from all the other white that's there. And now that border piece kind of acts as another little contrasting element. And the final paper layer is going to be those scallops that I punched from plain white cardstock. So that, I love that punch. That came from Martha Stewart. And because it's kind of that double scallop, it adds a lot of detail and a lot of shadows. So it's kind of fun. So I have one of those. I basically just mirrored the layers that are going to the left and the layers that are going up top. And everything's very simple. I mean, this literally was just stuff that came from my stash. But when you put it all together and, you know, you kind of layer up all these different pieces and different textures, it comes out looking really nice. So I ended up pulling that off because I felt like it was just not sitting where I wanted it to sit. And then I reinforced it with some extra tape because there's lots of mixed media down there. This is I think it's Maggie Holmes Bloom collection. And there were a couple of pieces of washi tape. It's the washi tape booklet. So there were a couple of pieces of washi tape there that were mostly white with some black. So I added that into my layers. And then now I'm going through these sticker books and I'm just going to pull out everything that I want to use. I love having my Teflon mat as my cover on my desk because I can stick stickers down to it and then just pull them up as I need to. So it works out really good. And I'm so mad at myself for not buying more of these books. We went to Spokane this summer as our little family trip, and there is a Tuesday morning there, and so I knew it was there, and I had planned to go there, and I had a budget because I was worried that I would get carried away based on all the pictures that everybody posts about how amazing Tuesday morning can be. And I got in there and it was okay. I don't know that this was the best Tuesday morning. And I mean, the lady said she could tell that it wasn't the amazing dream stash that I thought it was going to be, or dream haul that I thought it was going to be. But she said sometimes they just get tons and tons of stuff in, and other times it's just not as good. So that's okay. But these sticker books are only $6.99, and I think here in Canada, if I were to buy them, I think I could have bought them at Michael's, and I think they were $35, and at the local scrapbooking stores, maybe $30. So $6.99 versus $30, yeah, that was a really good savings. And I didn't buy all of the ones that they had there because I thought while I was in there, I was kind of second guessing myself. I'm a really bad shopper. But I was kind of second guessing myself and thinking I might not use all of them. There was a Dear Lizzie one and Vicky Booten. I think there were just the 4 of them. There might have been a 5th one. But I grabbed the Chamel one because I have bits and pieces from this collection. And I grabbed the Maggie Holmes one, again, because I have some bits and pieces from the collections that she has in that sticker book. So I grabbed those 2. And I hadn't really taken a good look at them. But for this layout, I did. And now I'm kicking myself because I bet I would have used all of those sticker books. So I guess that just means I have to take another trip to Spokane. But we'll see. Anyways, I pulled out all the black and, well, all of the mostly white stuff from those. And now that I have all of my little elements, you can see I'm just adding them into my layers. So I've added some thread, some black thread, and some white thread. and I'm adding my little flower embellishments that I made, and I've added my hearts that I've painted. There you can see there's some of the white thread that I'm adding. I added all of the stickers. I made another little embellishment cluster right there that I'm working on right now. So that's where my title is going to end up getting housed. And there's also a white paperclip arrow that I found that came from Freckled Fawn. And then I have that embellishment cluster up at the top where I had put a little bit of mixed media. I kind of knew I wanted to have something up there, so I went ahead and put just a little touch of the paint, and I did some stamping up there too. And so that is my other embellishment cluster, and it got a few of the elements that all the other clusters did. So those teeny tiny little hearts that I painted, and a flower, and a couple stickers, and some thread, and now some sequins, because sequins is a great way, just like the thread, sequins is a great way to add a little pop of color wherever you need it. I'm using these Heidi Swap chipboard thickers. They're the mistable ones to add Titus as my title. That's my puppy's name. And then I'm going to finish with some of these shimmers. I'm just going to scatter that around so that there's a little bit of kind of shimmery splatters all over the place too. And that's it. That is my layout. There are still shots coming up, so you can see all of that detail in those. And I want to say a big thank you to Katie and Jessica for letting me play along this month, and a thank you to you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Remember to check out the links down below so you can follow along every day and hopefully play along. And until next time, happy scrapping. Bye!